You know, we spend so much of our lives focused on what we project out into the world, right? But today's explainer, we're looking entirely inward. We are talking about the foundational anchor of the astrological birth chart, the fourth house. Often called the house of home and private life, we're going to explore the hidden roots that support literally everything else you do. So get ready, because we are taking a deep dive into the most intimate sector of your chart.
So, what is the hidden anchor of your life? I really want you to think about that for a second. You could have a thriving career, a massive social circle, incredible outward success, but if your private sanctuary is chaotic or emotionally barren, everything else is going to feel fundamentally unstable. We all have a public face, but behind closed doors, underneath all of it, there is a private world that holds you steady. It's the place you retreat to, the emotional baseline you operate from. And astrology suggests that without understanding this hidden anchor, you really can't fully understand your own capacity to grow and sustain all that outward success.
Okay, let's dive into this. Astrology actually uses a fantastic historical term for this area, the subterranean pivot. Astronomically speaking, the fourth house represents the lowest point in the sky at the exact moment you were born, like the literal midnight position. And because it sits completely out of sight, deep below the horizon line, it symbolizes our most intimate experiences. We're talking about your literal origins, your childhood environment, and even the heavy ancestral legacy you carry into the world. It's basically the deep, unseen, and honestly, often unacknowledged soil of our lives. To really grasp what the fourth house means, I want you to picture a magnificent tree. Way up at the very top of your chart is the 10th house. Those are the visible branches and leaves, representing your career, your achievements, and your public reputation. Everyone sees the branches. But buried in the dark, at the absolute bottom, is the fourth house. These are your hidden roots. They're underground, they're working in the dark, but they provide the absolutely essential nutrients and structural stability that allows those visible branches to reach high into the sky and actually weather the storms up above. So what exactly do these roots actually consist of? Well, first off, it dictates your emotional baseline. That's the psychological environment you were raised in, which you often subconsciously try to replicate or maybe fiercely avoid as an adult. It covers your relationship with your parents and your core upbringing. But it's also highly physical. It governs real estate, land ownership, the literal bricks and mortar of your house. And fascinatingly, it also rules over traditional completions, what's known as the end of matters. This means the fourth house governs the closing chapters of life, how things conclude, and even the final resting places of our physical bodies and our family secrets.
All right, let's move into section 1, planets in your sanctuary, the soil of your roots. First up, we've got the sun. Now, if the sun resides in your fourth house, it acts as a sort of private pillar of light. The sun normally represents broad visibility in your life's purpose, but here, in this hidden house, that immense radiant light is focused entirely inward. Day to day, this means that being a pillar of your family or managing a household isn't just a chore for you, it's your central life's work. You take immense, quiet pride in your heritage. You are the person illuminating the home, dedicating your core vitality to building a lasting, vibrant legacy for your kids behind closed doors.
Moving over to the moon in the fourth house, the absolute crucial point here is the creation of a deeply nurturing sanctuary. The moon is all about emotion, comfort, and safety. So if you have this placement, your emotional well-being is completely dependent on having a stable, exceptionally comfortable living situation. It also indicates a profoundly intuitive, honestly almost psychic bond with your parents. Like, you can probably feel their moods before they even speak a word. In real life, you might be the designated family historian, the one carefully preserving all the photo albums, or just the person everyone instinctively goes to for comfort and emotional grounding. Now, if Mercury, the planet of information and fast-paced communication, is hanging out in your fourth house, your home is likely a very busy, highly intellectual place. This placement brings a ton of mental energy to your private life. It often indicates a household that serves as a bustling hub of learning, reading, or, constant tech upgrades. In practice, this can literally manifest as a restless urge to constantly rearrange the furniture, a tendency for frequent moves, or perhaps a slight addiction to midnight Zillow surfing, endlessly rethinking your real estate options. Sound familiar?
Venus in the fourth house brings an entirely different flavor, deep beauty and harmony. Venus naturally seeks peace, grace, and aesthetics, right? So when placed in the house of home, you'll likely put a massive amount of effort into making your physical living space a real sanctuary of art, comfort, and beautiful design. But it goes way deeper than just decor. Venus here frequently softens the edges of family trauma. You basically act as the diplomatic glue in domestic disputes, creating a highly supportive social center and maintaining a gracious, loving spirit that just keeps the whole family dynamic together.
Okay, now contrast that serene energy with Mars in the 4th house. Wow! Mars brings a massive surge of action, drive, and undeniable heat to the domestic sphere. This placement makes you the energetic, fierce protector of your sanctuary. It brings a very proactive, let's get it done right now attitude toward home repairs and property management. And while this heat can occasionally make the household feel pretty intense, think highly aggressive family board game nights or chaotic, spontaneous weekend DIY projects, it ultimately grants you the raw courage to passionately defend your private life.
Then we have Jupiter. Jupiter is the grand planet of expansion, so having Jupiter in the 4th house is traditionally seen as a sign of great abundance. Historically, this placement points to immense luck and good fortune, specifically in matters of home, land ownership, and real estate ventures. You might literally find yourself living in a very large, sprawling home. But emotionally, it means you draw immense wisdom and growth from your roots. You likely inherited a highly hopeful, aspirational outlook from your family, really believing that your sanctuary is a place of endless possibility and philosophical growth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the other end of the spectrum, where we have the heavy weight of Saturn. The planet of time and responsibility requires a highly structured, serious, long-game approach to your roots. Saturn in the 4th house often points to carrying heavy family responsibilities early in life. But man, this pressure builds incredible, undeniable emotional resilience. Physically, this often manifests as a deep fascination with preserving historic homes, restoring old properties, or methodically and patiently building a foundational legacy that is strictly designed to last for generations to come.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are wondering as you're looking at your own charts right now. You're thinking, but what if my 4th house is completely empty? It is a very common source of anxiety, making people worry they're somehow destined to be rootless. Let me assure you right here and now, an empty 4th house is perfectly normal. It absolutely does not mean you lack a home, a family, or an emotional baseline. It just means your vital life energy is concentrated in other areas of your chart. That's it.
Instead, astrology uses a really practical and empowering concept when a house is empty. You look to the steersman. Every house has a zodiac sign on its starting edge, or cusp. And every sign is ruled by a specific planet. Whichever planet rules the sign on your 4th house cusp acts as the absolute manager of your private life. That planet essentially becomes the captain of your domestic ship. So if your 4th house is empty, you just find that ruling planet elsewhere in your chart. The house and sign where that captain is sailing will tell you exactly how and where your home life is being directed and fulfilled.
To see how this works in practice, just look at the specific zodiac signs sitting on that 4th house cusp. Leo brings a profound warmth, a need for a majestic living space, and fierce pride in the family name. Scorpio, on the other hand, creates highly intense, fiercely private emotional roots where loyalty is literally everything. Virgo brings deep practicality and meticulous organization to the household routines. Aquarius fosters independence, encouraging wonderfully unconventional or chosen family dynamics, and Pisces creates a deeply sensitive, highly spiritual connection to the very idea of home, basically turning it into a mystic retreat. Which brings us to one final, really important thought for you to carry forward. How are you nurturing your own roots to support your life's journey? We've learned today that the 4th house is the essential, hidden soil from which your entire life grows. Whether your chart shows a bustling, crowded house full of loud planets or a quiet, empty sanctuary guided by a distant captain, this foundational sector requires your conscious attention. By truly understanding your unique heritage and emotional baseline, you unlock the power to create a private world that deeply, powerfully supports your public journey. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into your hidden anchor, and remember, keep nurturing those roots.